Okay, welcome to Leading Change, a conversation about addressing your workforce and workplace. Wait, let me say that again because I messed it up. Welcome to Leading Change, a conversation about addressing your workplace for workforce development and welcoming new voices. It is my honor to welcome Zaira. You say it, not for some reason. Zaira.
It's perfectly
Zaira.
okay. Zaira Collazo.
Zaira Collazo. But you know I know how to say your name, so I'm just very apologies there.
I'm finding this very amusing, by the way.
I'm sure you are. Zaira Collazo. She is the Vice President of Project Management Office at Diversified Global Graphics, also known as DG3. She's a consummate advocate and for efficiency and continuous process improvement, as well as leading with the voice of customer to improve and coach overall satisfaction, company effectiveness, and profitability. She is also the Diversity and Inclusion Council head at DG3. Veronica Heaven, who I think I've seen, yes. She's the managing director of the Heaven Company, a sustainability communications consultancy, and the founder of Briefcases, which acts as a bridge between industry and education, creating cooperation between academia and businesses to provide university students with training that increases employability and entrepreneurial skills. Teresa Campbell, is she here? Kel, did you see? Okay, great. She is a print practitioner, a printabilities promoter, and a graphic arts industry advocate. She's president of PIA MidAmerica, a dynamic association helping nearly 500 print, visual communications and marketing firms in Texas, Kansas, Oklahoma, and Western Missouri achieve their business objectives. Dr. Vickie VanHurley has hopefully, yes, she's here. Yay, Dr. Vickie is an accomplished branding consultant, artist, educator, author, conference speaker with over 30 years of experience as a creative branding professional in marketing and packaging industry. She's also known as the Design Doc, and Dr. Vickie Hurley is a university professor of marketing, advertising, graphic, and packaging design. She conducts seminars on the value of education and creative career choices to middle school, high school, and collegiate students. So welcome everybody so much. I mean, I hope that everybody, just from reading those bios knows that this is a serious panel of some serious women. And I am just thrilled that you are sharing some screen time with all of us today. So the subject of workforce development has proven to be universal across the printiverse. And no matter the size of the shop or the corporation or the organization or the offer, finding and keeping employees, Finding and keeping employees currently is topping the crisis list at print shops, equipment makers, and industry vendors. As I said, it touches everybody. So Dr. Vickie, if you are here, I want to actually start this conversation with you. If you can just turn on your video and pop on screen, say hello so we see you.
All right.
Excellent. Good morning,
everyone. Wonderful to be here. Excited.
Welcome to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you for running from your class to the Zoom. We really do appreciate that.
Yeah, the students are happy because we always run to like 11:45 every class period, but they're excited. They have enough work to do anyway.
Excellent. So I wanted to start this conversation with you. What is the perception of printing with the students you encounter? And from your perspective as a branding expert, what messaging would have an impact on attracting them to consider a career in print?
Wow. Good question and very real. The perception of printing from the students that I encounter, they think it's talking about an HP desk jet. The students, they don't have a clue what offset lithography is. They don't know how to pronounce it. They don't know what it entails. And I try and incorporate that in all of my courses. As a matter of fact, the class I just left, it's a class I'm teaching this semester entitled Online Media. But what I am doing is introducing to them the fact that what you produce may be online, but if it's visual, it may be printed. So I'm exposing them to thinking both ways about kind of both applications on how people choose to consume. And that's one of my beliefs. It's unfortunate that these students that I am encountering now, they have been raised, reared, grown up in a time where they think print is dead. So there's no real reason. They think everything's online, and we all know here that's not the case. So I think what has to happen from a printing industry standard is there needs to be more visibility to let these students know that printing is not dead and it is a choice. I also think we have to let them understand when and where it's a better option or choice. Also, we have to make it relevant to them. And as far as getting them perhaps interested, having a passion about print, I think it would be great if the industry, don't know how that can happen, but I'm happy to help in any way that I can. But I think there needs to be a bit of a campaign or more visible to these students. And perhaps it is through offering internships or even going back to a journeyman apprentice type system, where if it's not an internship, it's still, you have to invite them into the space, into the arena. And the reason I refer to kind of a journeyman apprenticeship is kind of like an electrician. There's only so much you can read about it. You have to literally go in and experience it. And I know that we've gotten so far away from that. I remember I entered the job market decades ago as a designer, but it was something that was called on-the-job training. We don't do that anymore. When we hit around the mid 80s, early 1980s, when you had that term corporate downsizing, it took a lot of that on-the-job training away. And so you hear that now. I've introduced this to other corporations, other industries, and they're like, well, we just don't have the manpower for it. Well, guess what?
Right.
In order to engage these students, we have to make an exception for this. And this is why. I have had experience with K through 8 students. And they have, and I'm also having to manage it here and re-educate. When I receive students, whether most of my students, I either encounter them at a sophomore or junior level, and they bring with them what they were trained to do in K through 12, which is the learning model of I do, we do, you do. They're so accustomed, it's habitual, that you show me every single thing I need to do. They're learning how to problem solve and become independent thinkers. That's not what they're receiving at K through 12. So if we want to start to engage and kind of recruit these new students, we're gonna have to bring back that type of apprenticeship, kind of journeyman type of thing. So, you know, I know it's sometimes can be very frustrating, but you do have to meet them where they are.
Yes.
Yeah.
And actually, it's a perfect segue to bring Veronica Heaven into this conversation, because it's exactly what she does or is trying to do with the industry. So Veronica, if you can turn on your camera and just say something so we see you on the
Hello,
screen.
hello. Can you see me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can see you. Hello, and she's got a funny accent, everybody. It's not your, do not adjust your headphones. So Veronica, Briefcases is now 10 years old. So first of all, congratulations on that. I'd like to give you the opportunity to explain what the program is and what is required to get involved on the print industry side.
Yeah, thank you for that. Well, Deborah, yes, 10 years. It's amazing to think that this time has come around so quickly, and this academic year is our 10th year. So the crux of Briefcases, it's a bridge between academic study and commercial reality. And yes, this is an English accent you're hearing. I'm now really aware of it because everyone else has had this lovely twang to their accents, and there's me with straight English. So Briefcases, basically, we are very much focused on the graphic arts industry, recognizing that there really does need to be this real life test for students while they're studying. So we are typically working, the program actually is actually quite broad. It goes from primary school level all the way through to postgraduate, but specifically in the graphic arts industry, we are working with undergraduate students, second year undergraduate students. We're reaching around about 1,000 students each year across a number of different academics. And we are working with a number of big organizations. We're fortunate to attract a number of big organizations from print, paper, packaging, as well as brand owners who all recognize that it's really an important thing to support and strengthen the next generation of talent that's coming through. So that's what we're really focusing on. And I think what's really interesting, particularly now, is, as you know, what was said earlier about this whole concept of this journeyman. I completely agree with it. We do need to have enough time for people to work on these projects. And so the way that Briefcases works, it's actually part of the university sets it. Basically, we have mandatory projects which the students have to take in fulfillment of their degree. The projects last around about 12 weeks, so it gives them enough time to do things and to work through. And we're actually making sure that we're having the things that industry needs young people to be working on and thinking about, those future ideas or things that we're thinking, okay, what's the future ideas that we want them to be looking at? So we're focusing on that very much indeed. And I think from the brand owner's point of view, the reason why they're also very engaged is that if you think about it, that single thing that people touch, that product, that packaging, that's the interaction that people are having with that's the interaction that consumers have with the brand. So it becomes such an important part. There's, you know, print and packaging has an important part to play in it. So our projects are really broad, lots and lots of different subjects, focusing very heavily on entrepreneurship, focusing very heavily on future thinking topics, so things like packaging for tomorrow. And all of our projects are underlined by the message of sustainability. So there's a very strong sustainability message, and we're exploring big issues. So one of our current projects actually that we've just been running is all around sustainable futures and the aging community, where we're having hundreds of students working on this theme in terms of thinking about how they can reach audiences in an integrated way that's looking at a whole host of things. So, you know, big campaign thinking that's attracting and looking at social and environmental value, as well as the medium of print and the materials that they're using. So there's a lot that's there really, and for the print partners to get involved with us, or the various industry partners to get involved with us, we're basically looking for a genuine commitment of people who understand and know that we're actually helping to shape what young people are learning in terms of their future skills, and that's really our focus. So we're working over a long period of time with young people, and we like our partners to engage with us throughout the whole process really.
Just a quick question. Currently, your program is in England and the rest of Europe, or because now that you're not part of the rest of Europe, congratulations on that. So Europe and the continent, as you guys call it, or just in, I mean, England and the continent, or just in England?
Sure. Well, it really is primarily in England. However, we have actually done some work out in the States, and actually with a number of universities that wanted to sort of test the thinking. And the crux of the way that Briefcases works, we need to have two sides of the coin. We need to have the industry partners who want to engage. So I would just do a shout out really that if there are partners abroad that are thinking this is an interesting thing, I'd like to find out more, then please do reach out, because we definitely we have tested it, and we know the quality of the work is outstanding from what we're getting in the UK. Probably not a good idea to mention some of the specific universities in the States, but I think it's, you know, we would be very happy to explore that further.
Well, you should go into the chat immediately because I see that Leslie Silverman is interested in working with you, and I know Leslie
Fantastic.
Silverman, and she's no joke. She's working at the brands and that you want to be speaking with. So
Fantastic.
you already
Fantastic.
have a request for more information.
Fantastic.
Zaira, I'm going to bring you on, and Veronica, if you just mute your mic, and Zaira. Okay, everybody. Zaira, Zaira, if anyone is interested. So first of all, I am so glad that the stars have finally aligned and you are on this panel. We've been talking about this for a long time, and
Yes,
you
we have.
were recently appointed the Diversity and Inclusion Council Head at Diversified Global Graphics, as I mentioned before, also known as DG3. So I'd love for you to share how DG3 introduced the council to the company,
Yes.
and explained why it was created, how members were chosen, including you, and some of the topics that you guys address. And again, it's a corporation, so we understand that there's things you can say and things that you might not be able to, but we respect that. We're pre-respecting that for you.
Well, first of all, I'm glad that this is finally happening, because I think we've been talking about this for almost a year.
Yes.
Exactly. So first of all, super excited to be here. I'm humbled. I'm actually kind of fangirling here a little bit, but I digress. So the idea of the council was brought up to me by our executive sponsor, Mr. Joe Linfeld. So Joe Linfeld was actually in one of your panel discussions last year.
Yes.
I believe it was Elevate.
The Elevate Print Conference, yes.
That's correct. And this was really his brainchild. And the way it started, it's really twofold, right? So the majority of our clients within the financial industry, within the pharma industry, they've been ahead of this. It's not a secret that in the print industry, we're a little bit lagging behind. And we're getting there, right? But most of all, too, is that for when we're talking about DG3 specifically, you know, geographically, we happen to be in one of the most diverse cities, not only in the Northeast, but in the country. We're in Jersey City, New Jersey. So we're literally 7 minutes away from New York City. So due to our geographic location, creating a diverse workforce is a non-issue. I think if we were talking about, if I was somewhere in the Midwest, then maybe we'd be having a much more different conversation.
Right.
But for us, diversity was really stacking a deck to have a diverse workforce. And really from the executives down, that's a non-issue. And where I believe, and I can't speak for Joe, but I think Joe would attest to this, is where the challenge is, and at times is within the inclusion. And that's with any organization, any industry. Inclusion is a tough one because it's subjective and it's very hard to measure. The way you'd measure is with qualitative data, and really doing almost like a grassroots effort and really going into the work, going into your team members and really having these honest conversations. And sometimes even it could be even a difficult conversation, and that's okay. So we really felt that in that aspect, we can really make an impact. And the most important thing is also executive support. So without executive support, we don't have a program. And that I think is the biggest thing, because we can go from, bottom up, but if it's not coming from top down and we're not meeting in the middle, it's not going to go anywhere. And how I got involved is pretty much, during that time, I just happened to be interviewing again with DG3. So to make a long story short, I worked at DG3 originally from 2011 to 2016. I had several operations roles. And then during that time, in 2016, I obtained my Lean Six Sigma black belt, and then left DG3 to pretty much explore other avenues. During that time away, I went into a company that had a full-blown DEI effort. And instantaneously, I started gravitating towards the ERGs, the employee resource groups, and ultimately became part of their steering committee. So I ended up being a lead for the Hispanic Latino network at Citibank, the Families Matters network, and then ultimately also the Enable network, which focused on individuals with disabilities. So when I came back to DG3, I sort of came back already kind of equipped with the experience to be able to just grab the ball and run with it. And we are a small, you know, compared to a Citibank, compared to our clients, we are a small company. Here in the US, we're about 300 plus employees. So the notion of an ERG or a DEI initiative really is strictly voluntary. And I honestly did not know how people or our own employees were going to take it. And to be quite honest, we sent this out to all of our employees. We said, listen, this is strictly voluntary. And people were already in line, eager to join and eager to be a part of it. And it was almost like we got so much positive feedback where it was like, no, it's bringing, you know, we're bringing up morale. This is now, you know, this is part of our company culture. We can definitely jump in on this. And, you know, at this point, year to date, we've created a mentorship program that, you know, is now for upcoming, you know, for potential upcoming leaders. So we have actual people from the executive leadership that will recommend a lead, a supervisor, a manager, an associate that has the potential to possibly be, you know, the next director, the next VP here at DG3. And you know, I'm proud to say I've got one story, and this happened, and it just happens to be one of Mr. Limfeld's mentees who went from being a manager, he's now a director, and he's now our director of fulfillment. And, you know, he was also at one point my mentee. So it really became a family affair, right? And year to date, we've done, you know, the mentorship program. We've actually worked with we've worked with our executive leadership to really stack the deck in terms of recruiting efforts. We've also done fundraising. So DG3 does have did create a charity during COVID called DG3 Cares. An extension of it for 2020 is we did a fundraising again for our local food banks, for the Food Bank of New York City and the Community Food Bank of New Jersey. And then the most popular one right now is our speaker series. So the speaker series is done once a month. We get an outside expert and our own employees to really talk about their journeys and their experiences. And it's educational, it's inspiring. I mean, half the time we're crying because these are really impactful and really emotional stories. And it's a platform not only to educate, but also to get to know your own team members and really understand the shoes they needed to walk in order to get to where they are today. And I have to say, personally, for me, this has been a labor of love.
Well, thank you so much for all you're doing, you know, to give back and to help people. Also, I want to mention something that you mentioned about, you know, when we talk about diversity and inclusion, a lot of times we leave off people who are physically challenged in some way. And I saw a horrific stat the other day that 50% of people with physical disabilities are unemployed. And some of that is because they cannot get access to the place that they want to work. And I mean, there are laws about that, but it's still not, everything is still not accessible for everybody. So I'm really glad that you mentioned that as part of your mission. And thank you for including people with disabilities. Now I'm concerned, like, I don't know what I'm supposed to say, and I don't want to offend anybody.
With disabilities, whether it's an invisible or visible disability.
All right, so you're giving me permission to say that. I'm being unapologetic. Kiana, she'll know what I'm talking about. Okay, thank you so much. I want to bring in Teresa, who wanted to share some slides, but we're trying not to do that today. If you can just turn on your mic and your camera and just say hello so we can pop you on the screen. Excellent. Where are you?
Can you hear me?
Yes, there you are. Okay, we need to get Z.
Terrific.
I'm just gonna go use Z. It's gonna be easier today. I'm having okay. So Teresa, first of all, I am so thrilled that you were able to join us today. You're a busy woman managing an industry organization. So but you are here today to share details about the diversity, equity, and inclusion accreditation program that was recently announced by Steve Bonoff, who's the president of the printing industries of the Midwest. Now, it's my understanding that your org, the printing industries of MidAmerica, is a partner in this initiative, and that more of the what were formerly known as the Printing Industries of America affiliates, now just the affiliates, are also on board to become members. So first of all, well done on all of that, and thank you. I want to really give you this opportunity to explain what the program is and what the results are that you are hoping to achieve.
Excellent. Thank you for inviting me to be here today, first of all. And just as my peers, the others that have spoken about it, we need to do a better job with diversity and inclusion. Therefore, this pilot program has been launched. I'd start by saying it is not a training program to hand to organizations. It really was created by a coalition of volunteers, and it is the foundational change that we need to recruit, hire, and train individuals in our industry. So it's designed to develop metrics and processes for accreditation, and then uphold and enforce that type of environment. We didn't write a program for companies, but what we are doing is providing direction and a launch pad so that they can create their own and show us how they're making change with their culture so that they can understand people of color or underrepresented minorities. It is showing us that they are speaking out and standing up for justice and equality. And so there are really 4 pillars to start to become accredited, kind of to get that first declare and make a commitment, then establish measurable goals of how they're going to do that. Once they have those goals, we have to show progress towards a momentum to achieve those goals, and then a continued commitment to ingrain that as part of their company culture. So we're building tools to give organizations the ability to make it their own and not just an off-the-shelf box product to say, oh, okay, we bought that, now we're inclusive. You're not until you make the commitment and you change your processes and systems so that we can help them to increase representation of people of all different backgrounds into the whole workforce. With that, the good news is I think our industry is in a position to hire lots of different types of labor, but they really need that hand out to say, how do we connect with you? How do we find you? We have built a organization called Print Industries. I think I put printindustries.org in the chat, where our goal is to advocate for diversity and inclusion and to then provide them with opportunities to connect on, we call them learning labs, on the job training within the graphic art communities across the country. And I'm super excited to connect with even those from the UK and share resources and information so that it's about advocacy, it's about careers, and it's about learning for all of the individuals across the world. I'm super excited to do that.
Teresa, just in case it wasn't crystal clear to everybody, this program is for print shops, correct? Not just the affiliates. So can you explain a little more about that and how they can get involved in things of that nature? And I also want to point out that Steve is here from PIA, oh my God. Midwest. And he has put the link to the program in the chat if anyone's interested. But if you can please just elaborate a little more on to the printers in the audience on how they can get involved. And do they have to be in your region, or I'm sorry,
they do not.
Okay, go
so
ahead.
I would say that it is piloting in the northern Midwest. So Minnesota, the Dakotas, Iowa, and Nebraska is where it's starting. And it is expanding out throughout the whole nation. But again, our hope is diversity and inclusion is for the whole globe. So I want to, eventually share with the UK and have them share with us. They may have things that we could utilize to propel this process forward. It is designed for organizations to take this program, take these tools to their leadership and say, this is going to help us to take the steps to be a more diverse organization, and anybody can reach out and say, I'm interested in doing that. It may help us propel other areas with a second pilot more quickly.
Well, thank you so much, and to Steve and to everybody. I've been on a couple of calls, hearing about what you're trying to do, and as you all know, I am completely on board to help as much as possible. So, just keep looping me in, and thanks again.
So can I add just
please,
quickly
yes,
to do that and loop you in and get that information to the group? I'm not able to share my screen, but our goal is just to take it a step further and to connect locally. So on the printindustries.org site, there is Connect Locally, and that's really the way that we intend to take it to a grassroots effort to allow you to take it to those organizations in your backyard and to allow them to search for education opportunities. I'm super excited to be able to connect with Dr. VanHurley. I want to learn more about what she's doing and an opportunity to get her organization listed, as well as on the front end where we're going to list career fairs and opportunities to learn about the program. So it'll be really at all levels, those that are just starting to learn about our industry to expose them. There'll be opportunities for apprenticeship type learning, different type of personas for press technician or packaging technician, and then for them to be led to the right education. So they may start with an apprenticeship and they may move on to a 4-year college program, and for them to find the right one. So all of the schools will be listed there that have programs, all of the scholarship opportunities, all of the job banks that are available nationwide, and linked to all of those resources really in one place. So definitely email me if you're interested. We will need not only the educators, the career fairs, but we're going to need the print service providers to be those on the job training facilities.
Right.
So we want you to connect as well, and much more to come. Not enough time today in this session to share all the details, but just seeing how many people are here today and the interest is powerful. So kudos to you, Deborah, for bringing us all together.
Thank you so much. And definitely post your email. People already want to connect with you in the chat. So post your email, post any links that so people can find out how to get involved. Again, I'm just trying to be mindful of time. The next couple of questions I have are actually just open questions for anyone on the panel who might want to answer. And, although I'm going to say that I will start with Z only because it will be, I think it would be more up her alley, but here's what I would have to say. I propose, this is my declarative statement. I propose that to have lasting and meaningful impact before an effort to cultivate diverse employees is rolled out, a business must assess its culture, as Teresa was saying, and make necessary preparations to be a safe work environment for everybody. And that comes on many levels. Now, that statement translated into reality can sometimes manifest as that new person is a diversity hire. They are filling a quota. So how can organizations prepare proactively and productively and address that before somebody walks into that situation? Z, let me start with you because you have a program.
So that's a really great question, Deb. As someone who, as a child of the affirmative action generation, that's a tough one because it's all subjective, right? You are going to have those onesie twosies that are going to say, you know what, they got in because we needed X number of such. But really, in reality, it's really sitting down working with the hiring managers. So, for example, I've worked with a couple of hiring managers already. I've worked with our HR team, with our HR head of HR as well. Really going through the pool of candidates and really vetting them And not only just looking to check the boxes, but at the same point, it's really looking at their experience. There was a study, and this is a study that's been done not in the print industry, but overall, and I believe it was about 10 or 15 years ago, where as soon as you saw as soon as you submitted the resume and they saw a name that they couldn't, and it's funny, right, that we're doing this today. Maybe that's
No, it's not funny that I cannot pronounce your name. It is humiliating.
But it's all good. It's all love, right?
But you know, I can say it. So I'm just having a craziness moment.
Any conversation.
Yes.
But as soon as an HR person could not pronounce the name, that resume was completely thrown out. And I know of personal friends that actually would change and moderate their name in order to be able to go through that pool of candidates. You know, so it's also part of it is really becoming truly unbiased. And really truly looking at, okay, let's get rid of the name and let's take a look at the entire resume. Let's take a look at the experience. Let's take a look at the accomplishments. And really thinking about, okay, what's the need within our company? And really looking at, okay, do they have the skills? Great, bring them in. Not just, it's not a matter of, when we talk about stacking the deck, it's not a matter of saying, okay, we're only going to do this, or we're only going to hire this. No, we're bringing in that pool of candidates, but we're really ensuring that those experiences are part of that.
Right.
And really looking into that and really taking the bias out of it.
Thank you so much. Does anybody else want to comment or share on that question? Yes, Veronica.
Sorry, just on mute. I just wanted to say that I completely agree, but I'd add to that and say that for some organizations, it's attracting the people in the first instance. So I would say, do have a think about where you're advertising, where you're actually promoting, who's going to see the stuff that you're looking, that you're, you know, the people that you want, that you're, the posts that you're wanting to reach. There are some places, certainly in the UK, where they are really remote communities that actually the chances of getting a job somewhere is going to be less likely to attract someone simply because they're not local to that area. And that's where things like we're doing now, we've got this international audience of people from around the world, Thailand, absolutely everywhere, are coming together. And with the whole thing with remote working possibilities, that opens the doors to many more things. So I would just like to add that in addition to what Zaira, you're saying, I would definitely say just also think about where people are advertising, how you can reach people. Are there university fairs that have, for example, more diverse communities that you can approach and you can work with and reach out to? So I'd just like to add that as an additional point.
Thank you. That was actually my next question, because but does anyone else want to comment on you know, how do you essentially tell that person who you know is going to have a problem with the diversity hire? You know, how do you rein in the culture is what I'm trying to say before you put somebody in a situation that is completely they're set off to lose to begin with, because at some point a decision is going to have to be made. Do we get rid of the people who have been here for 10 years to make space for these people, or are they being silent, but you know they're you know, thoughts have gone, you know, out of the side of the mouth comments in the break room, you know, and so that is really more what my question is. But if no one else wants to comment about that, then I'll move on to actually just.
Can I just say, sorry, Deborah, can I just
please.
On that point specifically, change is hard. We all know that change, nobody wants to see change happening and nobody wants to see things that are different. And ultimately, we're all comfortable with what we're comfortable with, whether that's, you know, somebody that speaks like you or looks like you or, you know, or whatever it is, we're all comfortable with things. And so this is where the whole piece that your original question was about really is that whole cultural side of the organization does need to be warmed up to this broader way of thinking. And that does take a bit of time. It takes a bit of ambition and confidence and strength. And, you know, we do need a group of people within organizations to be bold enough and strong enough to say, okay, I can be an ally to that. And that includes, you know, it's not just diversity in terms of color and nationality or ethnicity. It's also back to that argument around things such as disabilities and how do we make access for all, you know, making accessibility for everyone. So our businesses are open to all. So sorry, I just thought I'd jump in on that one.
No,
And I just want to add to
yes,
that really
please.
quick to what Veronica said. This is Teresa Campbell. And, you know, you said, what do we do? Do we get rid of the old to bring in new ideas and new open-mindedness? And I think it's bigger than that. I think we have a responsibility to educate those that may not be open-minded to a situation and give them opportunity to change, because that's really the goal, to change everybody at a cultural or a fundamental level, and let them show that they can change before we say, okay, out with the old and in with the new. And it's interesting because Zara, you have a lean background, and I relate this very much to lean. You can't just say, okay, we read a book about lean and now we're a lean organization.
Right.
It's a journey. It is a journey and it's a process, and everybody needs the opportunity to understand why it's good for the globe, why it's good for all of us.
And this is not a topic that can be dabbled in, which is what I was, you know, which is the point that I wanted to make. Like, if this is the new direction of your company, to looking at Joe from DG3 as the example, they're not messing around. It's coming from the top down. And that is really the only way to get a company to change. Because if that person, if that decision maker, if that final person who's deciding whether I'm working here or not, or has some influence on that, is set on this mission, and there is no, well, you know, we tried it, but it's not working. Well, there's human collateral damage in trying. You don't bring somebody, you don't try, let's try a Black person this week, you know, let's try someone who speaks Spanish this week. Like, no, it's not, you know, these are people's lives, these are people's careers. And, you know, it can be very disruptive and very harmful. It also can be the most positive thing you could ever do in your life, opening up your business to new ideas and new voices and new perspectives. One of my favorite examples that I like to share is, I have a friend named Tobias Degsel, and he's the former curator of the Nobel Prize Museum in Sweden. Yes, I just happen to know that guy. And he did a study of all the people who won Nobel Prizes. And what he figured out is that, because he was trying to think, was there a formula for growing Nobel Prize winners? And there actually was. And what the formula was people from different disciplines coming together and sharing ideas, because the engineer is never going to think like the linguist. And the linguist is just going to look at it and say, well, why are you doing it that way? Do it this way. And the engineer's like, oh my God, why didn't I think of that? You know, so most of the Nobel Prizes were won by people who, with diverse backgrounds, who came together and really, you know, put their spin on things. We've totally run out of time. I have posted, and I will post again right now, everybody's links to their LinkedIn profile in the chat. I want to thank you all so much for your time. Please connect with everybody, email them. Ladies, go into the chat and see you've got messages and people want to connect with you. Dr. Vickie, you were very popular in that chat. People want to connect with you. And we will be back in just 5 minutes with the Girly Award presentation and our annual leadership panel. Thank you so much. Empower Long and Prosper. We will be right back.